Ellen, our docent, was born in Chicago, Illinois, and moved to California after she graduated from the University of Illinois in economics and finance. She's happily married with 2 grown children, and professionally, Ellen had a career in automotive marketing and continues to work as a part-time marketing consultant. For many years, Ellen was an art docent at her children's elementary school, and she was also the ice hockey manager for various Orange County youth teams. She ran the silent live auctions for Team Up for Down Syndrome, where she helped fund the development of a baseball field in Anaheim for the Little Challengers League. She's co-authored a memoir about her father's World War II experience in Poland. And Ellen has been volunteering as a docent at the Bowers Museum since 2016 and serves on the Bowers board. She currently resides in Corona del Mar and enjoys traveling, walking, hiking, and reading, and of course, docenting. And I'm going to turn this over now to Ellen so we can start the program.
Okay, thank you, Jerry. That's a beautiful introduction. So the Bowers got this exhibit at March 8th, which unfortunately was the beginning of a lot of chaos, and the museum closed on March 20th. So we only had from the 8th to the 20th to give tours. I only gave 2 or 3 tours to people and to young kids. And basically the theme that this talks about is the archive. So it's keeping the magic alive by selecting, conserving, and preserving things that represent history and memory. So if we were to collect everything that meant something to us, I know my daughter calls me sometimes a hoarder because I save her handprint from when she was young, and I save certain things. And it's embarrassing for her, you know, but for me, it's a memory. And, you know, we all collect things and we all want to share things with our friends and our family. And these are things that mean something to us. And it's more than just like taking a slide of something or, you know, it's, so what happened, let's go back to Walt Disney. So Walt Disney was born in 1901, and he moved to California in 1923. And his whole goal was, he was an illustrator, and he wanted to make movies. And he had a character named Oswald. So you see here Mickey Mouse. The early Mickey on the left and the more recent Mickey on the right is a great example of how Mickey has matured over the years. You see, originally he was black and white. He didn't have shoes or gloves, but all these things made him easier to draw over the years and more in line, I think, more human characteristics. We all know and love Mickey Mouse, and he's very special to all of us, but there's many, many things that Walt Disney did since 1923, including making Disneyland and eventually Disney World and all the other Disneys. So what I want to talk about is this exhibit has over 400 items that were used in movies and illustrations over the years. These are from the Imagineering people, the movie studios. Disney has acquired Pixar and also Marvel and a lot of others. And so we have an opportunity to glimpse into what Walt Disney made. But the important thing to note is back in 1923, no one was saving these objects from movies. And so at about 1960-ish, 1966, there was a man named Dave Smith, and he wanted to start collecting the things that weren't being saved. And so he said, he started talking to Walt, then Walt died in 1966. Unfortunately, he had...
Not what I did. When you touched it, you got rid of the speaker.
Oops.
I'm trying to mute. I'm going to mute everybody. I'm sorry, because we can hear this, and then I'll unmute a few people.
I need help for a minute.
Okay, and then I will unmute.
I unmuted.
Speaker. Okay, you already did. Great.
All right.
Thank you.
So what we're going to see here is, let's see if I can get going. This is the summary of the exhibition. Basically, it's a lot of words, but that we have over 400 objects and you get to see your favorite characters. So Dave Smith decided he was going to start collecting. He went to the janitor's closet and said, when have we collected, what have we done with these things? And the janitor said, usually they just go in the trash. Sometimes I save things. And then while Dave Smith was talking to the custodian, he saw on the top of the locker behind him, there was a beautiful snow globe from Mary Poppins. And he said, why is that here? And he said, it was in the trash, I saved it. And so Dave Smith took it, he made a new base for it, and you're gonna see it pretty soon in our museum. So, okay, started archives. I'm going to tell you that there's 7 different rooms that we've created within the Bowers Museum for this. So they're sort of like sections, but you feel like you're going into another room because they wanted you to have the feeling of what the archives feels like up in Burbank. So late 60s, Dave Smith got together with Walt's brother Roy, and they made this archives. They began the archives with that famous snow globe that we talked about. So these are the objects of note. We have the Saving Mr. Banks desk, and we have an automated bird in a cage, which I'm telling you these in advance because when the video starts going, then we don't have to stop it and talk about it. But when the movie Saving Mr. Banks was made, this was a recreation of the desk, which was a recreation of Walt's desk. When Walt died in 1966, everyone was devastated and nobody could deal with walking in his room, so they sealed his room and his original desk was preserved. So many people took photos of different times of Walt being in his office, but they've always changed. Look at all those little figurines behind him. They're all his animated characters, and he just loved to collect all these things in his own office. This automated bird in a cage, you're going to see, he collected this in France. Automation was something that started as early as the 15th century. In the 1400s, there was an automated clock in Prague that some of you may have seen. Automation is not something new. You've all seen the dancing ballerina on the jewelry boxes when we were kids. I'm sure they still have those. But Walt fell in love with this little bird in Paris, and he brought it home to his wife. And years later, when they were building Disneyland, they came up with the tiki room, and they said, we're going to have these bird cages in the tiki room with birds over the tables. And Walt said, oh, no, you're not. The birds will make a mess. And so he had this idea, brought it back from home, brought back his gift that he gave Lillian, and said, this is how I want the birds to be. So this was the beginning of Walt pushing people to do automation. If you watch that Imagineering series on the Disney Channel, you'll see Walt push people beyond what they knew how to do. And this automation bird in a cage was actually the inspiration for Mr. Lincoln. I don't know if you all remember Mr. Lincoln, but he was, trying to think of what it was called. Well, yeah, it was the beginning of that Imagineering, that opening episode, that opening entry into Disneyland. So it was great that he was able to push people to do things like this. And now we're going to see the next room it's really around the corner from where the desk is, but it's what the archives looks like. You're going to see this in the film with different things in the case, but it's really what we're going to see is the excavation of how Disneyland was made. And then you're going to go into the reading room, which is our third section. And this is just to give you a sense of how the museum is laid out. But in the reading room, you wouldn't have been allowed in the reading room unless you were making a movie or doing research, and you'd have to have special permission from the Disney Legends team to come in and use the archives. So we get a sneak peek of what the reading room actually looks like, and the people that work in the archives the research team has come to the Bowers, and we've met them, and they can't believe how much it looks like the actual reading room at the Bower in Burbank. So the objects of note in the reading room is that we have this animator's desk from the 1940s. This animator was making the film Fantasia. And you see there's a rotary phone. You're going to see it up close in the video. I just wanted you to get a preview. And you'll also see the back room. So these are all items like the Alice Comedies contract, which I don't know if you remember when we started talking about this, we talked about Oswald was the first character, not Mickey Mouse, that Walt Disney made. And Walt actually lost the rights to Oswald. And he made sure from then on to have contracts for every single thing he did. So the Alice Comedies contract was actually a very important part of his legacy, to have a contract for every single thing he did. And also, this contract is so old. Normally we have facsimiles of everything, which is like copies of everything he did. But in this case, we have the original. And the only reason we're allowed to have it didn't travel to Japan or anywhere else, is because we built a microclimate. So Bowers is in the museum business, and we are able to preserve all these historical documents as if they were just originals. So amazing job that they've done. You'll also see the prop storybooks, which I don't know if you recall when Wonderful World of Disney came on, the movies would start with Once Upon a Time. So you'd open the book and then Once Upon a Time would start. And we also have a lot of conceptual art, which you're going to see. Then we have the Dimensional collection, which includes the costumes in park, the Honey, I Shrunk the Kids sort of electromagnetic shrinking machine, the bicycle piano, and Wilson from Castaway, that volleyball that was his favorite friend. So we have a lot of things also from Pirates of the Caribbean. And then we have some new things moving forward. So you see the Ford versus Ferrari car, and also things that are streaming like Roger Rabbit. And then we talk a little bit about digitization and how that's very important from things that are very old, and how digitization